Hey, Bottoms. Welcome to another episode of the Bottoms Up podcast. I am your host, Taylor, and this is just going to be like a little, hey, here's how I'm doing. This is what's happening in my life. I feel like I have not just had like a singular sit down episode with just myself since before Pride Month. Like, definitely in terms of like actually recording one, I have not recorded one since before Pride Month. And it is currently like almost mid-July. We are into Q3. I literally had my Q3 call at work today too. So that is what is in my mind. But yeah, I felt like it was definitely time to just kind of sit down, have a little conversation, share what I've been up to, give just some like general updates with podcast, with social media, with events, all the things that are important. So I'm also going to read my tarot on this episode because I pull tarot every quarter, but it's just been a lot with the end of Pride Month and then getting back into the swing of things, like normal life. I am trying to like take a break this month, especially because I just did a lot during Pride and I was definitely like burnt out by the end of it. So this month I have one event that I'm hosting for myself, but I was just like, I'm not hosting anything for anybody else. I'm not putting pressure on myself. Like I literally just want to relax a little bit, enjoy my life. I've had like a really good consistent workout schedule that I'm really happy with. I got more tattoos, which I fucking love. Thank you, Anto. I am obsessed and I can't wait to add more. I actually just decided that I want to tattoo my back as well, don't tell Anto. I do have a different artist, so I want to do that. Now I'm ready to like venture into other artists, but it took me a minute. I still have more for Anto to do as well. So, but yeah, so I'm going to read my horoscope and then I actually need to physically go get my tarot cards. You know what? Let me go get those. Okay. So originally, I actually didn't have this on my list. Not the tarot, just something else I was thinking about. But originally, I didn't have it on my list to talk about anything having to do with like working out or, stuff like that. But I do want to mention it because I am actually beginning to train for my next half marathon because somehow I have decided that this is what I'm doing with my life now. And quite literally, like the reasoning behind it is because I finished for context, for those who don't know, I did my very first half marathon in February of this year with my best friend. I did it with Ebony because she was doing it. So I was like, I might as well do it with her. And it was honestly fantastic. Well, okay, it wasn't fantastic while I was doing it. I remember at some point, like as I'm on the course, because we did the Fort Lauderdale Publix half, we were like just going up. We just kept going north. It just kept going further and further and further north. And I'm like, that's my pole dancing studio. I think I did actually pass. I passed Anto's shop at some point. Yeah. And I was just like, I think at that point I was like, yeah, this is too much. This is doing way too much. So while I was doing the run was like, I'm never fucking doing this again. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Why would I put myself through this? And then maybe like a week later, I checked and I saw that there was a half marathon in October on Miami Beach. And that one was only $75. The Publix half marathon was $125. And so in my mind, I was like, look, $75, that's a deal that I can't miss out on. So it actually went up to, I checked today, it went up to $80. Like I have to do it. And you get to dress up in a little costume. So I'm doing that one. And I just started my half marathon training block last week. So I have been in this like 6-day-a-week workout schedule. I've been running 3 times a week and then I've been going to the gym 3 times a week. And honestly, I feel fantastic. And the only reason why I think I feel fantastic, especially like about my body, is because I'm working out so much and the endorphins are just in my head, in my body, just in my bloodstream, just pumping it full of that shit. And I just can't feel bad. Like genuinely, I just think psychologically, it's like instead of like psychosomatic, it's like the other way around. Like I'm just physically doing so much that like I just don't feel bad. Oh, look, I just closed all my rings for today. Yay. Woo. Yeah, I went for a run early this morning. But yeah, I've been running 3 times a week. It's been going pretty well. And I just upped my mileage last week to 4 miles on my Wednesday runs. So I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling great about that. Speaking of running in general, if you came to the deadlift competition, which first of all, thank you for coming to the deadlift competition. I don't think that I've said that yet on an episode, but that shit was crazy. Honestly, I did not expect it to be that big. I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I don't understand how I managed to do that at all. So yeah, thank you so much for that. The charity that we were raising money for, Girls on the Run, they actually have a 5K in December, I believe. So I would love to get a group together to do that. Of course, it's like very far off, but just putting it in your heads, in your noggins. Let's save the date. I don't know what the date is, but save it. Absolutely. Okay, yeah, that's all the fitness and working out updates that I wanted to have. My eating is still absolute trash. Before we go into everything else on my list, though, let's read my horoscope for today, which surprisingly I haven't looked at. I've actually been reading it more consistently lately, which probably is a sign I should go back into therapy. Okay, your day at a glance. You are a constellation of everyone you have met. Stop believing you climbed the mountain alone. Look around. Count the hands that steadied you, the voices that guided you. Your isolation is a fiction. Your strength comes from others, whether you admit it or not. I do, all the time. That's actually part of what I want to talk about on this episode. Do hot tubs, catch up on texts, take it slow. Don't show up unannounced, editorializing and picking sides. You know, I never do the dive deep. Oh, wait, with my friends. Oh, I can't read that one. Ooh, mine for Ebony says, Ebony is flirting with friends. Ooh. Ebony's day at a glance. Love is accepting a person who might never change. Don't do that, girl. Wait, Jen's. Jen falls asleep in class drooling on the notebook they were doodling in. Wait, where's mine with T? Hold on, where's T? Let me see. I'm just like exposing all of you. T. Oh, I had to go to premium for that. Okay, I don't know what any of this means. But yeah, that's my horoscope for today. You guys know that I don't go like all that crazy with the horoscopes. But yeah, so my list. Where does my list start? Besides working out incredibly too much, I started Lovers Then Friends. Also somewhat unexpected, especially considering that I started this season and ended the last season saying like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be doing events like that anymore. And now here I am. I've committed to at least once, if not twice a month, forever. Don't know why I did that to myself, but here we are. So initially, Lovers Then Friends was just supposed to be that little after party that I had for Hollywood Pride. Wasn't supposed to be anything else beyond that. But then again, you know, the reception like was really good, and I could see again like the need for these very like low pressure meetups. So I was just like, okay, let me just keep it going. I also like, because sometimes I'll have an idea for an event that's just like a little bit weird, and I like try to explain it to somebody else, like another organizer who's been doing this for longer and like actually does it full time. And they'll be like, yeah, okay. And then nothing ever comes out of it. And for me, I don't like that. So at first I was just kind of like, well, this can be a way for me to do these weird events and just kind of like have fun. And, you know, people can, you know, ideally like respond and, you know, come in whatever way makes the most sense for them, basically. And it just kept getting a really good response. So I figured, okay, I guess we're doing this. I guess we're committing to it. And I remember I had a conversation with T, I think back in February or March, where like I asked her like, hey, do you think I should like make like an actual, like kind of like brand it basically, like make an actual like separate Instagram page, like logo, themes, like, you know, all of that stuff. And she said not yet. At that point, she'd said not yet. And I was like, okay, cool, 100%. Got you. And so I waited. And then by the time that May came around and I was, again, just committed to the idea of doing this consistently, I figured, okay, like this is time. Because I think like back when T and I had initially had the conversation, I just wasn't really sure like what I was going to do with it, if I wanted it to be something permanent. Or I think I wanted it to be something permanent, but I didn't know if I was actually going to keep it up as like a regular thing. It was, again, it's just kind of still like an idea, and I was kind of, you know, testing out to see if it was worth it. And then also I'm in the mix of like Girls in Wonderland planning as well, which is just kind of, it definitely like takes a lot of my focus. But yeah, by the time that May came around and I was realizing that, first of all, I was like, I need to be able to track RSVPs to a certain extent, and just being able to not end up like just kind of showing up to venues unannounced, more or less. I wanted it to be a little more formal. I wanted to be able to like have more of a conversation and be a little more organized about it, you know, type A girly. So yeah, it was time. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. It is still just me. I've basically recruited Ebony to do the movie nights because she has a little interconnection at the movie theater in Hollywood. So she's been doing the movie nights, and she's continuing with that. She just sends me the flyers, and then I go ahead and get that posted. So I'm grateful for that help. As my horoscope says, I need to be grateful for that kind of stuff, because I did not get here alone. And yeah, I mean, I try to focus mostly on Hollywood because I know that it's a very accessible location. Parking especially is kind of a big thing. And if not Hollywood, then more or less not Dade County. No offense. Y'all know I love Miami. I absolutely love Miami. But at the end of the day, it is the girls farther north who are definitely like lacking right now. The goal is to also kind of get some stuff happening in Palm Beach County as well. I have some ideas, especially for stuff to happen at the beginning of the year of like 2027, which I know is like 5-6 months away. Bear with me, okay? I am still just a girl, just out here living my life, doing my thing. But the biggest thing for me is actually finding venues that are willing to have people come into the space and, you know, do kind of like whatever activity I have in mind. So if you are a venue, or if you know of a venue who'd be willing to let me bring anywhere from 30 to 60 people, or like 20 to 60 people, depending on the event and depending on the day and depending on the time of day and depending on other, you know, things too, let me know. And I would love to, you know, be in the space, ideally for free, since I do not like charging people. So we are going to be every month at Heyday with Socialite, which I am so excited about. This also, we need to rewind. Rewind to an earlier part of my life. So back when I was living in DC, this must have been like right around when I got the news that town was closing. I had already had like the idea like in my mind of like having my own venue, like having my own gay club. And the first name that I actually came up with, because I thought, you know, at that point I wasn't really, you know, thinking about coming to grad school in Florida. Like that wasn't really at the front of my mind. That's when it would have been before my senior year of undergrad anyway. So like I wasn't thinking about that at all. And I was okay, I want to open my own gay club. And I wanted to open one in DC. That was, you know, my dream when I was like 20 years old, 19, 20, somewhere in there. And I wanted it to be called the DC Socialite. Obviously that did not happen, but what now, almost 10 years later, disgusting. Oh my God. Okay, no, not almost 10 years. It's been 8 years. Yeah, I guess, yeah, wait, that would have been, 2018. Yeah, 2018, almost 8 years on the dot, actually. Now I have my socialite. I have my sapphic socialite. That feels so good. That feels really good. You know, there's so many people around me who are always like, oh my God, Taylor, you're so hard on yourself. And like, I know that I am. I know that I hold myself to like a high standard, but like, I hold myself to that standard because I know that moments like this will happen where I do hit those goals. And these moments feel so much better, like knowing how hard I have worked to get here and knowing the things that I pushed through to get here. So yeah, it may not be a gay club, but like the fact that I can like still do this, like still do something like this, and honestly to have a venue that's been so gracious and so generous as well, and just like so fantastic to work with, like the staff at Heyday is just like amazing. I mean, I think like there's one day where I walked in, it was my first time just kind of going there by myself. And I remember just sitting at the bar and just talking to Jesus, not even on like I was there to be performative. I was there to sit down at the bar, at the lesbian bar with my book and just, you know, get a couple of videos before I had to go somewhere else afterwards. So like that's all that I was doing. But Jesus started talking to me, just chatting me up, and you know, we had such a great conversation, and I was just seeing like the way that he interacted with Kate and Anna, and I'm like, I asked him, I was like, hey, how'd you find this job? And he's like, oh, Indeed. And I'm like, are you lying? Because men lie. It's like the chemistry between them was genuinely just so good, and it is like so fantastic. That's like, I'm like, you can't convince me that you three people haven't known each other for the last like 15 years, like, and you just decided to go all in on this adventure together. Like, it just, the chemistry between them is palpable. You really feel it when you're in the space. I think it makes like a huge difference in the experience that you have, where, yeah, like I'm hosting an event there, but it feels like the people who are employees here are somehow like also a part of like the attendees, if that makes sense. So, and I do have my interview with Kate is actually coming out. That's going to be the next episode after this one. I need to edit that, but, yeah, very grateful. Hope to see you guys there. Just a heads up, I recommend showing up early. It'll be every third Saturday, which overlaps with the Hollywood Art Walk. So show up early, one, because there's going to be less parking than there usually is because they shut down a big portion of Harrison Street. So we don't have the same street parking, but literally if you go a block over, like the new developments have added parking, and then also the parking garage as well. And then I think Hollywood Boulevard is still open as well for parking and stuff like that. So arrive early for that. And also the arts market starts at 5 and Socialite does not start until 7. And I do what I do because I want to bring more people to Hollywood. There's for no reason besides I want to, because I actually enjoyed living there. So I think that everybody should come to Hollywood. I want to continue to support local businesses. So absolutely come early, come to the market, do a little walkthrough. And the thing is, Heyday opens at 5 anyways. So even if you want to just come early to Heyday, come early, come hang out. Come be friends with, come see Jesus looking very stressed out as he's watching the World Cup. That's the most I've never seen that man have a bad day except for when he's watching soccer. He is so fucking stressed out. It's insane. So yeah, Socialite, woo woo woo. Very happy about that. And then the next event that will be happening after after July's Socialite, will be in August. The same day that I'm having Socialite in August, I'm also doing a breath workshop with Dom and Dangerous out of Orlando. Her government name, well, I guess the government name and the stage name is Dom. So anyways, Dom's coming from Orlando. And we are doing a a somatic workshop, which includes breath work and some junk journaling as well. Help you get a little more in touch with yourself. I know for myself, a big portion of me figuring out like good like therapeutic techniques for myself had to do with a lot of somatic therapy. I hold a lot of my trauma in my body, especially chest and shoulders. Oh my God, chest, shoulders, and like right behind my eyes too. So somatic techniques are really helpful if you do struggle with that. They're also just very good if you are looking to learn new grounding techniques as well. If you struggle with anxiety, or if you struggle with like being in the moment, like focusing on conversations and things like that, or even just focusing on what's happening directly in front of you. Again, just being present in the moment. Grounding techniques are really helpful with being able to tap in a little bit better and connect with the world directly around you instead of being so in your head. So very big fan of that. I do have the ticket link that is live for that right now. It should be linked in the description of this episode, and I don't have the actual Instagram promotion going out just yet. Yeah, bear with me. Things happen in due time. I even debated talking about it on this episode because I don't like to overload, if that makes sense. But yeah, it'll be the same day as the next socialite, which is August 15th, I believe. And we're doing that in the early afternoon, and then socialite obviously in the evening. So you'll have a full day of gay shit. And it's all in Broward County. You got a full day of gay shit in Broward County. So I don't know, pack up the U-Haul or something and just lock in. Lock in, lesbians. And then in the works right now, I heard your feedback. So I am trying to do a pool party for Labor Day weekend, aiming for that Sunday, just waiting for things to be confirmed. And then I'm also working through the planning stages of getting together just like more fitness days. Right now, aiming to do like a full weekend thing, like a tri-county weekend thing, if I can get it to, work out. But that will probably be like more like October, like late September, early October timeframe. Just because, again, let's not forget, I got a full-time job. I'm a full-time lesbian. I got friends. I got family. I got to make these episodes. I got to plan these events. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I know I have a lot on my plate. I also got another job. I teach horseback riding lessons now. But like, I love my life, okay? I'm very happy. My house is very messy, but I am very happy and I'm very fulfilled. So can't complain. Tired, but that's really it. So yeah, that's all that's happening right now for Lovers and Friends. I have some other stuff that's like in the works as well, but it's just a little bit less certain. But especially, again, like I'm begging for venues. Please send me your venues. Like I really, 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 really want venues, especially venues that respond when you send them messages. I'd be very appreciative of that. Let me get my cards out. Wait, I wonder if I hold this here and shuffle my cards. Wait, is this like, wait, no. No, fuck. Oh my God. Don't tell me that these got mixed in here. Okay, well, while I look for, there's like, okay, first of all, this deck, really cute. Love this deck of tarot cards. But they have like the informational cards, and there's like 2 of them bitches. And every single time I tell myself to separate them out so that they don't get mixed in with the deck. And I didn't do it the last time, obviously, so now I have to suffer and find that. There it is. Wait, is that the only one? I think there's another one. Where's the other one? There it is. Got him. Yeah, I really hope you guys can still hear me if I have the microphone down here. Okay. So, in other news, in other lesbian life information and updates. Also, we're pulling tarot for Q3. This is my Q3 tarot. I do a 3-card pull for like what are things that I should keep in mind for the next quarter. So, and my boss told me that this is the exact right mixture of woo-woo and corporate girly, which I love. That's exactly who I want to be. But yeah, in other lesbian news, guess who strapped someone for the first time? It's me. did. And the feedback was fantastic. Both for myself and the other person. So yeah, I see what all the hype is about. Junkyard asked me the other day, he's like, so is the Bottoms Up podcast, like, are you only allowed on it if you're a bottom? And like, I was just like, no, because you know what? I might not be. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God. No, like I did it. I strapped. Okay. Like I did it. I would still consider myself a bottom though. Cause like sometimes, I'm not the step top. I'm the top that stepped up, like it's not like I didn't do it. Like, ask not what your country can do for you, but like, what can you do for your country? Like, that's kind of like what the moment was calling for, because like, I just feel like I have natural leadership skills. And it's what the moment was calling for. And so I did it. And the thing is, I never half-assed anything. So I put quite literally my whole back into it. And I did great as far as I'm concerned. So that's that. Just thought it was the first time for me. It was the first time. And that's why it was a big deal. Cause like, it's been on my bucket list for like a while. And like, I will say, like, I'm definitely in like a very, exploratory part like of my life. I'm still battling the demons, when it comes to any sort of like casual sex, casual dating, cause it's really like not my thing. But I am grateful for the experience. I think like, again, like it's something that's been on my bucket list for like a couple of years. And I do feel like because of the kinds of people who I primarily date, that there's a good chance that I will end up with somebody who like doesn't allow me to do that. Long term. So I'm glad that I was able to experience it. Would I do it again? Yeah. Would I recommend it? Oh, 100%. If you haven't tried it, you absolutely should. Regardless of who you are as a person. But yeah, and no, I'm not gonna say that part. That's getting way too into it. Ebony did recently tell me that I overshare, on the internet. So I'm trying to do less of that. But I'm actually about to share something that she told me I didn't have to share, but I feel like I do have to share it because I've already talked about it before, and otherwise I'm like leaving it as like an open-ended thing, and like that's not why I had initially shared it. So I'm going to, continue to, at least in this instance, I'm going to give an update. So, as some of you know, especially I mentioned this at the start of last season, I signed up for a program called Split by Co-Fertility. They are kind of like a egg donor matcher company, stuff like that. Fertility company. Let's say fertility company. And so the reason why I did it is because I am someone, I consider myself to be like a pretty healthy young lady, and I'm flushing my eggs down the toilet every month. So I just said, you know what? Let's make some use of these. But I mean, genuinely, like I'm a very empathetic person, and for me, I was just like, I'm a healthy young person. I'm privileged enough to be, flushing my eggs like down the toilet every month. So it just, for me, I was like, you know what? I think there's families out there who wish that they would be able to have a baby of their own. And so I just figured, you know what? I think that this will be like a good opportunity. And what they do is that if you donate your eggs and they find you a match, that they will freeze the other half of, like, you donate, the potential parents get half, and then you get to keep the other half, and they freeze them for you for up to 10 years. And so there's a lot that like factored into it for me, especially like with having, queer siblings as well. And like with me, like being the youngest, I was just like, I'm kind of in like a prime, opportunity to do this. And like, I would love to be able to also like, give eggs to my siblings. Like that was something that was really like in my head as I was going through this as well. And then of course, like I don't pay for like anything having to like anything with like going through IVF, like doing the hormonal treatments. Oh, we got one. Oh wait, hold on. I'm very unfocused right now. I can't, I'm putting the wrong energy into the cards. It was very much like a multi-part decision for me to do something like this. And it wasn't the first time that I've seen co-fertility, and like I've known about co-fertility as a company probably since also like 2017, 2018. And it didn't make sense to me before, but now it does. And also, you know, it's nice to be able to not have to pay to have my eggs frozen, especially as somebody who does want to have kids someday. So I signed up last year, and then a couple months ago at this point, they notified me that I had a match for a potential parent. And it's so funny because I think at the time, maybe like the day before, I was starting to think like, okay, maybe I should look into, you know, other options for getting my eggs frozen. And, you know, basically giving myself like more of a choice when I get to the point where I am ready to have my own kids. And the next day, literally, I got a message that I had a match, and I was like, oh my God, amazing. So, I moved forward like with the next step with, the counseling. They gave me like a breakdown of like what the whole process would look like. And then I got scheduled to go and get my blood drawn for my genetic testing. They gave me like a little bit of information about the potential parent, but we were going to meet each other anyways, because I decided to go with the open route. And I was starting to think about, you know, legally, like what are the implications and all this stuff, things that I maybe wanted to keep in my contracts. And so did all of that. And then a couple weeks went by, hadn't heard anything. And then I got my genetic testing results. And in that same email, they told me that the potential parent had decided like to not move forward with egg donation at this time. And it's weird because like I didn't feel good about that. I think that's like the best way to just like say it. It's a weird set of emotions to have. I couldn't really figure out how I was feeling besides just kind of feeling off. It's not like it like crushed me by any means. Like I wasn't like, you know, like better-rotting or anything like that. But I think like there were so many things that I was trying to plan out for this summer, between like training for the half marathon. I have work travel. I have the events. I want to get back out to Orlando to do some stuff as well. And it's like, and then with the teaching my lessons and doing my regular work and like all of that. And I'm like trying to also plan to be doing fertility treatments like in the middle of all of that. And it's like bittersweet because it's like now here's one less thing that I have to think about and consider. But also it's something that I wanted. So it just kind of feels a little weird. And I think again for me, because it's so wrapped into my own like journey with motherhood or like, you know, parenthood, that's all. It just, nothing is in isolation. I think I've always been someone who's struggled with like segregating different parts of my life and keeping them all like very separate and very compartmentalized. And of course, like, I don't think that does me like any favors, because I am a very multifaceted person and I have a lot of sides to me, and it's not fair for me to kind of like have all those be like separated and like disjointed from each other. So that did feel a little weird to navigate, but I'm back out, back in the pond. So yeah, if anybody wants my eggs, let's go. Let's make it happen. And I did get my genetic testing results back as well. So realistically, I've still benefited from this experience. Like I've been able to understand like where I sit, like in terms of my health and like my own fertility, which is just good information to have. And I haven't had to pay for any of it either. And I will say like the co-fertility team, like everybody who I have spoken with has been so helpful, so kind, very knowledgeable. they give me like a lot of information without managing to overwhelm me, which is kind of shocking, especially considering like how intense of a process this can be, as we can see. So very grateful to the team. And yeah, I'm hoping that I do get another match. And I'm hoping that I am able to move forward with donation and getting my eggs frozen and just kind of checking, one more thing off the box for my future. So yeah, that's the fertility update. I did also want to talk on this episode, actually kind of the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about is just friendship overall. Or well, adult friendship. And more importantly, I guess like adult friendship in Miami. I made a post like a while ago, and it was just a screenshot of a Tumblr post that I liked, and it was talking about how lesbian relationships are important, whether they're like romantic relationships, but also the friendships that you make are very important. I've talked so many times on this podcast about how important it is to make good friendships, to make quality friendships, to have good, healthy, intimate, platonic relationships in your life, regardless of your age, your gender, your sexuality, your occupation, like all that stuff. Like it's a human thing that, I think that we all should have. And I think on top of that post, I've been seeing just a lot of content on my feed that also is just kind of like talking about the way that we navigate friendships right now. And I think I've seen a lot of stuff that actually has tapped on the idea that like, to have community like comes with inconvenience, that like you can't have a village if you're not a villager. I think, and this is very anecdotal, I think for the people who say that it's impossible to like have friends, or it's impossible to make friends down here, I encourage you to look inward. And I mean that with love, care, and respect. That is not me being shady. I mean it like so much. And the only reason I say that is because of the situations like that I've been in. I think it's also very difficult for me to have these conversations. Like that's a good way I'm having a very difficult time putting this into words, because with what I went through, like when I first moved here, a lot of the people who know me now, and especially like the people who have met me since I've started this podcast, you are meeting a completely different version of me than who I have been for my entire life. Me moving here, going through the codependent friendship, ending up like very isolated for like several years, and having to deal and kind of almost like reset like my whole life and like reset my mental health and like the way that my brain works and the way that I navigate things, has ended up with me being a completely different person than who I was for like literally the first 25 years of my life. And that's a very interesting like place to be in, because I'm like, on the one hand, I do want like I'm still authentic, like with everything, with like all the situations that I approach. Like I'm still honest. I'm still like true to who I am. But I almost feel like people who meet me now don't understand like where like my behavior now is like informed from, if that makes sense. And it's also, again, very difficult for me to explain like who I was prior to, all these more wonderful experiences that I've had as of late, especially just with being like a much healthier version of myself. Like I don't think the same. I don't approach situations the same. I don't process things the same. And if anything, I've spent a lot of time the last like 3 years completely relearning how to approach all of my relationships in my life, because previously, like I just was not interacting with people in the same way. I wasn't engaging with people in the same way. And I think especially after, again, like dealing with the codependency and kind of like understanding what that experience was, I definitely approached a lot of my relationships with a lot more hesitation, because I was genuinely scared of like going through that again. That was a very like deeply painful experience. even if no one had done anything wrong, just developing a relationship like that with somebody and then having it break down so quickly, like, would have been painful, like, regardless. And so it's like, for me, you know, with the way that I approach things afterwards, I had trust issues, understandably. And I'm not even going to say that I've completely, like, moved past that, because there are definitely a lot of times where I hold people at arm's length. Like, a lot of times. I definitely still struggle with letting people in and genuinely being truly vulnerable. But at the same time, now I have a much better time, like, recognizing, you know, when someone is not a threat. Because having a conversation with a new person is not supposed to feel the same as being chased down by a lion on the savannah. So letting my nervous system figure out how to regulate itself and not be on the defense all the time has been a game changer for sure. I have obviously, you know, I've not avoided conflict in the past 3 years as I'm getting back into friendships. It was genuine, and like, not getting back into friendships, but like me consciously making an effort to develop and pursue a close inner circle for myself. There you go. That's it. Obviously, I have had conflict with people. There's like it's a fact of life. I've talked about it before as well. Learning how to navigate that conflict was absolutely something that I really, really struggled with, and that genuinely caused me to, like, break down a couple of times, especially like early 2024. Because it's like that at that point, I would think I was like 6 months or so, like, into creating these relationships, which is like about the time where, you know, you would expect to have maybe an argument with your friend or have, like, you know, tension or like discomfort. And so that was really, really difficult for me, like, when I first experienced it. And it's become easier over time. But I think I genuinely had, like, a pretty big breakthrough recently. And there's kind of like two things that I've kept in mind. The first is that, like, I genuinely, for myself and for other people, like, you cannot get jaded when it comes to building relationships with people. And it's weird because I tell myself, like, when it comes to, like, dating, I don't get jaded. I might get jaded for like a week at max. And then I'm like, I'm a lover girl. I'm back out there. Like, I don't care. It's fine. I have this big heart, and I'm like, I know that the love of my life is out there, because the love that I have and that I give out into the world, I know there's other people who, you know, are like me and who want to give that love to me as well. I know that for a fact. So, like, I'm fine with it. With friendships, it's weirdly been harder for me to keep that mindset. But again, like, I do recognize that my quality of life is so much better when I consciously go out and make the effort to create those relationships with people. I do think that it is more difficult in a place like Miami, not because, you know, Miami is bad or anything like that, but I think that this is unfortunately a place that attracts a very interesting crowd of people who end up moving here. And as we know, the majority of the people who live here, like, live in Miami proper, are not from Miami. Like, I need to look back at the statistics. I think it's like 90%. It's a very, very, very high percentage. And something that I learned very quickly as well when I first moved here was that a lot of the people who are coming here, whether they're moving here temporarily or even just coming here for vacation, see Miami and see Florida as being this place that is, like, very lawless, where you can kind of, like, come and do whatever. I think that's very evident for me in the way that people act when they come for spring break. They don't care. They are happy to trash the islands and trash the beaches and not give a fuck about the people who live here. Why are we shooting each other? Like, why did you come to Miami to shoot someone? I don't really understand that. So knowing that in the back of my head, I do understand the kind of energy that gets brought into South Florida from other places and from this kind of, like, outside perception of what it's like to live here or what Florida is. People make the Florida man jokes, like, all the time, that oh, it's so crazy in Florida. I get it a ton at work, like even in my industry, that like, oh my God, Florida is so this, Florida is so that, it's so difficult, it's so weird, it's so blah, 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 and all this stuff. And like, I'm not going to sit here and like disagree that there aren't things about Florida or there aren't things about Miami that I don't like. But I think especially like after living here, like after growing up in like Maryland and living in DC, which is like a very different place than Miami, it's a very different place than Florida. Like coming here, I'm just like, it's not like, I mean, it's not uncharted territory by any means, you know? And again, I just think that it's very dismissive to look at a place and just kind of be like, some crazy shit happens there, so we don't really care about the people who live there. I don't think that that's fair. Especially because, like, again, not as much as I say that, you know, there's a lot of outside influence from these ideas and these perceptions of Florida. There's also people who do, like me, who just moved. I moved here for school. Like, that was really it. Like, I moved here for school. I tried to leave and then I couldn't. So now I'm here. Now it's been 7 years and I'm here. And, you know, there's other people who are also coming for, you know, different reasons. I know people who moved here for family. Obviously, a lot of people moved here during the pandemic for a variety of different reasons. It's just like, I don't know. I almost wish that people could look at Florida with a little bit of nuance and use their brains, which is asking a lot these days. But I don't love that perception. Again, I just think it's very dismissive. It's very short-sighted. And it's honestly a little bit dehumanizing as well. And again, as much as like those people do come here, do move, especially like to Miami, and, you know, it radiates out, of course. And those people are probably very difficult to make friends with because they don't see Florida, they don't see South Florida as a community like worth investing in. Baby, you gotta learn how to weed them out. Like, to be quite honest, I know the environment that I'm in with South Florida. I know that there are a lot of things about it that just feel like so fake and so superficial, and it's just like bullshit, like through and through. But it doesn't mean that there aren't like real, genuine, fantastic people down here. And I think when you find one, it's very easy to find the others because we tend to kind of hang around in packs, you know? And again, I think it's also, you can't discredit like the people who grew up here and who have a very different connection to the area, who see it as like their home, and who see it as their community, as opposed to like this kind of destination or maybe even just like this, you know, get rich quick type thing. Those are the people who you may want to connect with if you're looking for genuine relationships down here. And I think in part of learning how to deal with conflict, that actually has helped me figure out like how to weed out people. Also, I said two things earlier. I forget the first thing I said. I've just been going on a fucking tangent. But the second thing that I've learned like very recently with like navigating my relationships, especially in regards to conflict, is that sometimes it is okay to just send the paragraph. And like, I say that as someone who, I don't know, like, this is toxic of me. This is a red flag, like on my side. But I have been very like if I'm texting someone or if I'm like commenting on something online or sending a DM or something like that, anything where I'm like physically on my phone, like typing something out, for me, the idea of sending a paragraph in someone's messages is just like, no. In my mind, for a very long time, I've felt like sending a paragraph is a sign of like, oh no, like this is not worth it. That if I'm having to send you a paragraph explaining how I feel or how you made me feel, or like going over a situation that like, it's already like that there's basically like that I've hit the point of return, that like I'm not sending that paragraph. And there have been times where I have wanted to really like go in like with how I'm feeling about something over text, and I'll start typing something out and I'm just like, nope. And I delete all of it, and I will get very short with people real quick. I will under explain myself before I over explain myself 7 days out of the week. Honestly, 8 days out of the week, to be quite real. So I've learned recently that like, hey, that's a little bit fucked up. And it honestly probably just contributes more to people not understanding me, or not understanding where I'm coming from, which is weird because I think part of what makes me hesitate with just like, typing out a fucking paragraph or like sending a paragraph is because I'm like, I get really, really, really frustrated when I'm misunderstood, because I feel like I do try to communicate very directly and be very thorough about like how I'm feeling. So it's like if I send you something, like if I send you something and I say, hey, like I'm mad because the sky is blue, and then you message me back and you say, oh, well, the sky is actually purple, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like this is not a fucking game. Like, don't piss me off. But I can't stand like being misunderstood. Like I try to be like very direct when I'm talking with people. And so for a long time, my solution to that was to simply not go in depth, because the idea of going in depth and being misunderstood was a lot scarier and a lot more painful than the idea of simply just not doing any of that at all. So I was in a situation a couple months ago where, not even a couple months ago, maybe like a month and a half ago, where I had explained, like, I just didn't explain like fully how I was feeling. I wanted the conversation to be over and I just wanted it to be done. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And then it was sitting on me and I was thinking about it and I was just like, this is so unresolved. Like, why am I doing this? And so I sat down and I typed the fucking paragraph. And it was so long that I had to break it up into multiple parts because the first message had too many characters and couldn't send. But the response that I got was just so much more genuine and more understanding, because I had finally just been open about like how I was feeling and like how a certain situation had affected me and how someone else's behavior had affected me. And the way that it just made the conversation, like it just kind of like opened up like it made it very clear that there had been like other misunderstandings. And then to get to the end of that conversation, to have it feel resolved, was just like this weight off my fucking shoulder. That's what I'm saying. It's like I hold so much tension in my shoulders. I hold so much conflict in my shoulders and so many emotions in my shoulders that like quite literally like I could just feel the weight like melting off. And that was a magical experience. And look, when people say that forgiveness is for you and not for the other person, hate to say it, but they cooked with that one. Hate to say it, but they were right. They were 100% right, because I'm a bitch who can hold a grudge, and do, and honestly still do, because this is my first time like actually like releasing a grudge. So yeah, I still have some old ones. I still have some really old ones from when I was like aged 7 or 8 that like I'm still holding on to. But yeah, it's just, I think I have accepted that there is no need for me to mince words, because the right people will not be thrown off by a paragraph from me. If people want me in their life, and if they want me around, they will see that paragraph and know that I'm sending it because I care, not because I am trying to talk down on them or judge or anything like that. And that my openness is a reflection of a desire to be vulnerable and an effort to seek connection, not an effort to create tension or put space between myself and somebody else. So that's what I'm learning about friendship. And it is, I mean, I think I want to reemphasize again too, that like I am not who I was 3.5 years ago, before I started this podcast, before I started on medication. And when I say that I'm like relearning how to navigate relationships, I mean that in a very, very, very literal sense. It honestly, sometimes it feels like I'm almost like a video game, where I have like option A is like what I've been doing previously. Like I feel like now I can slow my brain down, where like I'll see that option A of like what I've done previously, and I can calculate exactly how it's going to turn out. Or option B is trying something new and taking that risk and seeing if maybe there's a different way to approach this situation. It doesn't mean that every strategy that I had in the past like was bad or incorrect or anything like that. But a lot of it was coping strategies. Me trying to find comfort and safety in a world that felt very unsafe because, again, my brain thought that I was being hunted down at any given second. Meanwhile, I'm just 2 minutes late to my African American Studies course at my state college. But yeah, it's just been different. And I think I've also accepted that it's not going to be this just kind of like one-off thing where like you take the medication and then you're happy and you're good. Because I think I felt that way like when things were kind of like first like beginning to shift, and then I hit the top of that second year and I was like, wait, actually there's a lot more work to do. There's a lot of work like to be undone. Because again, like there's experiences that maybe I had when I was younger, and I can't even say younger because again, it was the first 25 years of my life, the first probably quarter of my life that I was dealing with this and it wasn't being adequately treated. There's definitely experiences that I had like within those first 25 years that I haven't been confronted with the same thing yet, like now, like post getting adequate treatment. And so I don't know how I'm going to navigate certain things quite yet. Dating was honestly like a really big one for me. And a big one where when I was, confronted again, like with the opportunity to date seriously, that, oh my goodness, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, wow, there's a lot of very like unhealed trauma here. There's a lot of behavior that still needs to be like unlearned, and a lot of new behavior that needs to be, figured out. Gotta download some new software. And so like I know that there's still going to be moments in the future where I'm faced with a new situation, or I'm faced again with an old situation, and I'm going to have to confront whatever my old habits were and decide how I'm going to tackle it in this new brain, in this like new mindset. And like I said, friendships are a big portion of that because I've recognized how important it is for me to have like honestly like a big, stable, trustworthy friend group and like people who I can feel safe around. And honestly making sure that it's not just one person. That's a really, really, really big one as well. Not putting all that pressure on one friend to be there for me, making sure that I have a really good and like solid support system around me has been super important, and something that I would recommend to anyone, something that I think that everybody also really needs. And I encourage everybody to, not approach friendship and dating in Miami and South Florida with a jaded view. I encourage you to keep trying. I encourage you to keep putting yourself out there, because I think that when you do put yourself in the right places, or actually I think when you work on yourself, when you find yourself, when you better understand yourself, you're more likely to put yourself in the right places with people who are of a similar mindset and a similar lifestyle. And that's how you begin to build those really high quality, vulnerable, deep connections with other people. I think that is how you find your crowd. It's unfortunate that, we do have to go through the process of meeting people and maybe realizing they're not right for us and weeding them out. Not because they're bad people by any means, but just because it's not the right fit, because there is too much conflict there. Maybe we just don't see eye to eye on certain things, or maybe we just have like very different values and we can't develop like that level of vulnerability. But again, I think like as you find people and kind of like clear them out, you're also making space for the ones who are going to be right for you. Which is weird because I feel like we have that mindset with dating, but we don't have that same mindset when it comes to friendships, which is unfortunate. Okay, that is all the yapping that I have. I'm actually very thirsty. I need to read my tarot. Oh, I need to pull my tarot. So, the way that I pull my tarot is I shuffle the cards while thinking of the question that I want to ask. Or actually, especially when I'm by myself, I tend to actually say the question out loud. So when I'm pulling for the, oh my goodness, not the water. When I'm pulling for my quarterly ones, I tend to ask the question of like, what are the things that I should be focusing on this quarter? What is the most important? What are things that I should be aware of as I go through the next quarter? And I do a 3-card pull. And if cards fall out, I keep those cards. So literally 3 cards fell out, which I'm going to be honest is probably the universe saying like, hey, lock in, like actually focus on pulling these cards. That's crazy. So these are the three that just fell out. So I put them all in. Usually if cards don't fall out, I will do my shuffle. I'll ask my questions and then I'll pull 3 off the top. I always lay them face down. I do care when cards are reversed, and then I will flip them all like in the same direction. So like I'm going to do 1, I'm going to do 2, and I'm going to do 3. So I have the 9 of Cups reversed. I have the Ace of Cups reversed. And I have the 2 of Wands. And I am going to make an inference that these 2 cups reversed are probably symbolic of me being very drained right now. And the 2 of Wands is maybe me only having 2 wands, and I need to build up my collection of wands again. I get like the 9 of Wands pretty often, so this is pretty interesting. Okay. Let's see what it says. My tarot deck is also just generally like the explanations of the cards can be like really negative. So I do take it with like a grain of salt. And again, like with me, with horoscopes, with tarot, it is all just a guide for me, like I don't let it fully control my life, like by any means. I just kind of use it as something to keep me aware of things that may be important. So the 9 of Wands says the figure leans upon his staff. Not Wands. Sorry, 9 of Cups. My dumbass. There we go. 9 of Cups. The godly personage is feasting to his heart's content. An abundant refreshment of wine is on the arched counter behind him. Reversed, truth, loyalty, liberty, but the readings vary and include mistakes, imperfections, etc. Makes sense, especially because this quarter, again, I'm taking this month to be like, honestly, refilling my cup, if I'm being so real. Really taking this month to take some time to myself and like focus on the things that are important to me, and not spending so much energy in building up the things that other people have going on. And then, really getting a little bit more into it come August and September, and ramping up a little bit more. So there will be mistakes and imperfections. I know that. I am trying to accept that. I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but I'm doing my best. And then I have the Ace of Cups reversed. Where's my ace? Oh my god, this book is like falling apart. I also got these from my ex. The Ace of Cups reversed. The Ace of Cups. The waters are beneath, upon which are water lilies. The hand issues from the cloud, holding in its palm the cup from which 5 streams are pouring. A dove, bearing in its bill a cross-marked host, descends to place the wafer in the cup. The dew of water is falling on all sides. It is an imitation of that which may lie behind the lesser arcana. I feel like I'm not even getting my audio right now. Reversed, false heart, mutation, instability, revolution. So obviously a relationship happening between these two, at least like for me. I'm interpreting this like based off of how I'm looking at like my life right now. But yeah, I can definitely see some instability over the next couple of months, again, as I'm navigating being a fucking event host and also a promoter somehow, all of that all at once. So yeah, I can see that happening. And then the Two of Wands, and this one is right side up. A tall man looks from a battlemented roof over sea and shore. He holds a globe in his right hand, and a staff in his left rests on the battlement. Another is fixed in a ring. The rose and cross and lily should also be noticed on the left side. I've noticed that. Divinatory meanings. Excuse me. Between the alternative readings, there is no marriage possible. On the one hand, riches, fortune, magnificence, and on the other, physical suffering, disease, chagrin, sadness, mortification. The design gives one suggestion. Here is a lord overlooking his dominion and alternately contemplating a globe. It looks like the malady, the mortification, the sadness of Alexander amidst the grandeur of this world's wealth. So that's it for this episode of the Bottoms Up podcast. Y'all know where to find me. I'm on Instagram at bottumsup.pod. That is bottumsup.pod. If you would like to be on an episode, if you'd like to recommend somebody, or if you want me to talk about a specific topic, like I talked about friendships this time, feel free to shoot me a DM, or you can send me an email, bottumsuppod@gmail.com. Absolutely send me venues. I'm definitely looking for more locations to work with, especially if they are in Hollywood, but also definitely wanting to grab some that are further north as well. Please subscribe, leave a comment, leave me your thoughts on friendship in the YouTube comments. Make sure to rate me. I honestly don't know how to rate people on Spotify or rate people on Apple Podcasts, but I know it's possible. So if you can give me a rating, I would absolutely appreciate it. I hope it's a 5-star rating. If it's not, please tell me why. Be nice about it. Otherwise, I will cry. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see y'all in the next episode. Bye.